Hi, my name's Lou, and today I'm going to be reading the internet for you. Why? Well, why not? And today's what is going to be a very special form, aren't they all? That goes by the name of the Whattup.com. Now, the Whattup.com is a forum that is for gangsters, wannabes, street rats of all shades and colors from all over this great land of the United States to get together and talk about what's happening in gang world. And not only gang world, but also just to sort of talk about what's happening, what's popular among them, what they like as far as girls are concerned, political conspiracy theories, things of that nature. Now, I have to warn you up front that a lot of this website is in the street vernacular, if you will. There's some heavy slang, such as there's Bloods and Crips, and Crips apparently like to replace the letter B in certain words because they don't like Bloods, and Bloods begins with a B. This is an assumption I'm making by just having to read some of these things. So there is no FAQ for the website, there's no FAQ for the website, so I can't go into deeper philosophy of the website. It is what it is. The website's sub-name is Where American Hoods Connect. And there are 5 subforums. There's the Open Hood Talk, East Coast Hood Talk, West Coast Hood Talk, Midwest Hood Talk, and Down South Hood Talk. You can see the breakdown of the hoods, as it were. So, without further ado, let's get right into thewhattup.com. So, the Whattup, let's see, which is the first dumb thing to read from. I just can't. Anyway. And the first post we'll read from thewhattup.com is in the Open Hood Talk. Now, this is not necessarily gang-related talk. This is more the conspiracy theories and just open, topics thrown out among the gangsters to discuss. And the first topic is written by D-Man in a thread he entitled, How White People Get Different Color Eyes, by fucking animals. And it goes like this. It does make sense, though, how white people got different color eyes, that the very nasty white man was fucking dogs and other animals. This is what I was told. It does make very fucking sense, though. And that is the end of the sentence. There's no punctuation of any kind, and it is all in caps. And X-West Posta X writes, Nah, it ain't from animals or nothing like that. It's a few blacks with hazel or green eyes too, and a whole bunch of people in China got blue eyes. They are basically flavored whites though. And a pimp writes, at D-Man, shut the fuck up, with about 8 or 9 exclamation points. And Kensington's Finest writes, you a fucking trip, my nigga. Got me rolling on the floor after each post you make. Typical black crackhead. It's good to see that the people of the Whattup can recognize that is an absurd statement. And moving on, we'll go to the next thread, which also happens to be by D-Man. In a thread he entitled, The White Men Are the True Rapist, Very Fucking True. Again, this is all in caps with no punctuation. It's very fucking true. If our black brothers commit the most crimes, how come the white man is always trying to take something very underage all the fucking time? Can't get not motherfuckers. And Bud102G writes, despite making up a mere 12% of the population, black men are responsible for over 30% of rapes, crimes against children, and other sexual-based offenses. And D-Man replies, fuck out of here, you cop. And 1K replies, you're serious? Guarantee there's more black rapists than whites. I'd say most crackheads are black, and how you think crackheads getting pussy. On some other crazy shit, 2 college kids, guys, got kidnapped in downtown Detroit, taken to an ATM machine, and got all their money took. Then they got raped by 2 black dudes. Shit's wild. But white people are just as bad. I never heard a black dad who will rape his kid. Then he offers no proof that this is happening. And Black Magic Diamond writes, history shows that white men colonized the earth and raped all the colored women all around the world. I mean, look at ancient Greek and Roman art, homosexuality, and all that other sick stuff. You don't see none of that in African art, with a shaking head emoticon. And Cash Rules writes, Caesar was a faggot. 2 cents emoticon. And Archer P writes, I wonder why then black dudes like their girl to have hairy legs. LOL, and you know it's true. And Black Magic Diamond replies, Well, I heard that French women don't shave their legs, so what's up with that? And all the black men I know like their women to be clean, fresh, shaven, smelling good, white teeth, and hair must be on point. And how could MJ be a faggot if he was married twice to women and had children? A reference to Michael Jackson that I skipped because it made no sense. It still makes no sense. And Bud102G replies, yeah, white people are the rapists. 100 women are raped by black men every day. And ex-West Point Posta X writes, 100 women. That's nothing compared to the thousands that rich white men buy and rape daily. Not to mention white men, including Michael Jackson, laughing emoticon, go to other countries and fuck with damn little 6-year-old kids' booty holes on the hourly. And blacks don't commit more crimes. The police commit more crimes than anyone. They just get paid for it and make it seem that they do it in a good way. And how many black serial killers have you seen in your life? Probably one or two. But it's dozens, probably hundreds of whites. Okay. And Bud102G replies, there are slightly over 300 white serial killers in American history. There are slightly under 100 black serial killers. Blacks make up nearly 25% of all serial killers in American history, despite making up 10% or less of the population during most of American history. Again, blacks are overrepresented in another criminal statistic. And Dat Nigga B replies, SMH, which stands for shaking my head. Bud, with all your cracker-ass statistics as usual, you know fuck well it don't mean shit. White men are always committing crimes they just get with warnings all the time. Not too long ago, a white actor got caught with a gun in an airport of all places, and they just gave him a stern white man talking to and leave him be. That ain't racist. IDK what is. Only white men that get caught for crimes is repeat offenders. All a black man needs is too many parking tickets and our lives is ruined. And although that thread goes on, we'll move on to a different topic now. And before we move into the subforums of actual gang discussions, we'll end the Open Hood Talk session with a thread started by Thug Angel entitled, Any of you niggas ever had sugar butt? And it goes like this. It's delicious. You take ice cream, chocolate syrup, some cocoa powder, some sugar, and chocolate chips, stick it up a bitch ass, and suck it out. That's how I eat it personally. But you can eat it any way you want. Take chocolate frosting and peanut butter. You can eat that out a girl's ass. I call that a Reese's Pieces. Way Rastafarian emoticon, I guess. Or chocolate and caramel, which is the Milky Way. However, so stupid. Or chocolate and caramel, which is the Milky Way. However, always are delicious and very hunger quenching. And 85/95 South Billy Badass writes, Nigga, you nasty. And Uptown Yub Montana writes, I hope some bitch shit in your face while you doing that. SMH. And Newell Frankenberg writes, Maine, you enjoy anal a little too much, dog. Laughing emoticon. And KTB writes, question. Do you ever get sick after doing that? And she better be clean too. Ha ha ha. And Thug Angel replies, well, I don't do it a lot. I only do it once in a while. But if you do it a lot, you might get a slight tummy ache. And Cash Rule writes, you talking about your main doo-doo stain? Or just some random hoe from the block? Rolling on the floor, laughing emoticon, repeated several times. And Thug Angel replies, random hoes. You gotta switch up the taste. And Chippo writes, you gonna get pink eye from the stink eye playa. And Thug Angel writes, I'll make sure to wear goggles. And the East Oakland boy replies, use a fag. 2 cents emoticon. And Thug Angel replies, for shooting emoticons, no nigga, you the fag. I fuck with bitches up the ass and love that shit. I will speak on it. Now your little ass that probably scared of pussy, shut your mouth with that shit. Now get off the fucking net and go find some sugar butt before I break your fucking keyboard. Anyway. And as you can imagine, it goes on from there. Just as an aside, I wouldn't imagine that this would be a very sanitary practice. Also very messy to clean up, and I would imagine ice cream in the colon would be cold and uncomfortable for your partner. So I do not take this as an endorsement of the sugar butt practices that were discussed earlier. All right, let's move on. And moving into the East Coast Hood Talk subforum of thehoodup.com, we start with a post by Big K-Loke in a thread he entitled, a funny story when I first started crippin', LOL. And it goes like this. This was like 97. I was 15/16, just got loked in weeks C4. It should be a before, but they replaced the B with a C because they don't like the letter B, because I'm assuming blood starts with B, and they are differentiating themselves. So, I was walking around Bronx River area, showing off the pride in seeing a crip. Again, that should be being a crip. I hit Monroe High School. I had a true flag in my right pocket and a gray flag in my right jacket pocket, LMAO. At that time, I didn't know Crips flag on the left. So 2 chicks came out of the school and was like, "You Crips? That's what the Blues see like." I spit back the Crip code to the 2 Lockets. One told me she was IGC, Insane Crip Gang. At the time, they wasn't insane death row gangsters yet. And the other was rolling 30 HMC from Allerton Ave and Gun Hill Road. So they told me that we don't flag on the right side, only left, LOL. From that day on, I flagged on the left, getting G-checked by Lokettes, LOL. And Grays83 replies, "Damn, homie. What set was you bekangin' with? I always kept in the left pocket, and I was bekangin' from 96 to 01. Right pocket was that folk chit. When we had all the 8 Bacall rockin' LOL. That's the disgrace you had it on the right, my nigga." And Keza writes, "When I got loked in, it was around the late 90s. And what's funny is that I knew we was posed to flag on the left, but I wondered about the right." This is impossible to read. I knew we was posed to flag on the left, but I wondered about the right ES lines. Hey yo, you heard of the set called ECMC? Cause out here in Jers, niggas said it fooled, and it's true to contrary. And Big K Loke writes, LOL. Nah, homies. What I was trying to say is that since I'd just officially turned Crip about a week earlier, I didn't know which side to flag on, LOL. I was more concerned with what's under your pillow, what's behind the moon, what's in your fridge, the good old late 90s, cuz, LOL. And 561 Zulka Zoe writes, I heard West Coast Crips hate East Coast Crips because they don't rep the left. Let non-blacks joined and making up their own rules and traditions. And Big K Loke replies, WTF you talking about, Zaluka Zoe? All East Coast Crips flag on the left side. Okay, all right. And Sour D387 writes, what happened to A23, SMC, and Straight Cheddar? And Gray83 writes, I thought Straight Cheddar became Payback. IDK what SMC was, what that stand for, cuh. And Big K Loke writes, yeah, I remember there was 3 dub 8 sets, 9 dub C, and A23 dub C. OG Panaloke was head in the East. I never knew Panaloke personally, but his name rang Bekels. And Sour D387 writes, Silent Murder Crip, which is apparently what SMC stands for. And Evil C the Criminal writes, I ain't disrespecting nobody or telling y'all what to do, but because... What? Okay, this is just getting dumb. I ain't disrespecting no Bacardi or telling y'all what to do, because a real ass Crip/criminal ain't gonna put they shit up there like that or discuss they set to the unknown/none Crip/criminal members. I'm a 5 Deuce Hoover criminal groover from Little Compton, aka Shreveport, Louisiana, and we fuck with West Coast 7 East Coast Crip/criminal tough, especially in California and New York, cause they real with it. I stay in Houston, Texas now, and some of the Crips out here, a Crippin' loyal, they flagging to the right, dropping they flag on the ground, getting they flag tooken, and the criminals say they criminals because they ain't on that criminal mind frame, because some Crippin' and groovin' loyal to the fullest, because I'ma hit y'all up later. I gotta go, so see up, see safe, and careful, aight deuces? And Big K Loke writes, no doubt Evil C the Criminal. We kinda got carried away reminiscing, Loke. I'm feeling your style because it seems like you ain't on that F New York shit. Everybody want to see putting down NY saying we faking it, but I see you, Evil C the Criminal, showing respect. Much Crip love. Oh, that was like a mental gymnastics tongue twister. And moving from the East, we slip into the Midwest Hood Talk subforum of thehoodup.com. And this is a new thread by Curious About Gangs. Oh. In a thread started by Curious About Gangs, in a thread entitled Can Whites Be in Gangs? By member curious about gangs. And it goes like this. There's 4 gangs I want to know if whites are allowed. 4CH, 26, La Raza, and Spanish Cobras. Can whites be in any of those gangs? And Greasers712 writes, whites are in all of those gangs. Not many, but some. And Fast Life writes, Chicago's not on that race shit. Anyone can join if they got heart. And Crazy writes, niggas join the mobs they grew up with. 2 cents. So if a white boy grew up in that same hood as a certain mob, it's possible. And I think most of the whites that's banging is in the Chai suburbs. And Archer P writes, to the Latino black bros on here, look at yourself in the mirror, bang the nation on your chest and say, I'm a white disciple, I'm a white king, I'm a white count, I'm a white hobra, I'm a white gangster. I'm sure that yous wouldn't do it, or couldn't cause you're not white. Yet whites do it and are accepted when the Latino black bros know that you can't really be something when you say you are not that thing. Now, far as other gangs that don't have a race identifier in front, it's a little different. Know what I'm saying? I actually don't know what he's saying. And in a similar thread, SCR Royal Crazy writes, and in a similar thread in the Midwest Hood Talk subforum, SCR Royal Crazy writes, in a thread he entitled, White Gangster Disciples? ? What do you GDs think about the influx of these so-called white disciples? Because I've heard on both sides that GDs accept white boys, and then I hear it's a no-no. I personally ain't seen no white GD in the Chai, just outside of the Chai for some strange reason. I know whites can be folks, but was just wondering, are these white GDs flops? And Boss74 writes, that's a tough one. You've got 2 different kinds of white boys. It's some in my set, and they hard. But they don't act black or white, but they need it on some real shit. My white boys will rob the hell out some mofos. Have niggas hating white folks. LOL. And Chi-Town 64 Mafia writes, ain't no white GDs in Chicago. And Boss74 writes, ain't too many white people period in most those areas. And SCR Royal Crazy writes, for real, I was just wondering, cause on this side I've seen shit where dudes be like, oh no, white boys can't be GDs, but if you think about it, white boys trace their roots back to the creation of folks, so shit plus ain't nobody really on that skin color shit in the Chai, we all the same, you dig? Just trying to get that money. And he continues, shit, I consider Chi-Town one of the most diverse places anyway, cause you rarely see black on brown hate crimes like you see in Cali, and you don't see no skinhead shit. Hell, you will see white, brown, black 2-6s and shit in lots of gangs be mixed here. Oh my god. And Boss74 writes, it just depends where you at. Not all folks do it the same way. Some just bout banging, some hustling, some about unity and coming up as one. The one bout that come up will have whites cause they got an upper hand on some shit. It's just what you banging for. Shit, I done come up from nothing. I ain't got to really do shit now is survive the shit I don't got into before. Wait, I ain't got to really do shit now is survive the shit I don't got into before. Niggas got cribs, riding clean and money coming in from the other shit now. Can't tell you everything. And he posted a picture of his fancy cars. And Boss Khan writes, GDs out Midwest don't accept white folks in. Strictly a black organization. And Tech Gun writes, we got 2 white boys in our set. They gotta be on some extra crazy shit to get in though. Usually you got a couple white boys in a set mean they some of the hardest cause they had to do some insane shit to get in. And Jimmy Slim writes, for real, when you live in a city where you the 1 in 1,000 ratio, you gotta go that extra mile. And when you strike, you gotta go hard as fuck. There was this white boy in my neighborhood, no names equals no indictments, when I lived in Fort Myers, and word got back around that this old head was talking shit after he'd got beat down by this white dude because he broke into white boy's house. All that was even, but the old head ran around talking about how he was going to break in after dark one night and kill the white boy's whole family. White boy got 3 folks together, ran up in his house, and took dude's tongue with a straight razor. If that's not an extra mile, I don't know what is. What a great story. That's a story that I think we can all relate to. I'm moving on. And moving from the Midwest Hood Talk to the West Coast Hood Talk, we start with a thread by Boston Fresh, entitled Cambodian and Mexican War. And it goes like this. Always heard from my fam that it's crazy out here in LBC, but I always hear about Mexicans shooting Cambodians, popping them on Christmas. Never hear anything about the Cambodians busting back. And Ryan, the New York kid, writes, a guy from Venice 13 told me that a lot of these Asian gangs don't have the numbers or the guns to go to war with Sureño gangs nor Crips and Bloods in Los Angeles. And then he corrects himself. My bad. I fucked up on what I was trying to say. But anyways, a dude from Venice 13 told me that there are some Asians that put it down, but most Asian gangs in Cali's don't have the resources or numbers to go to war with Norteños, Sureños, nor Bloods and Crips. I love the use of the word nor. So I hope that answers your question. I know back in the day, they Asian boys Crips gang were putting in work on the Longos from Long Beach and forced the Longos to go out and get protection to align with other hoods and to fight with the Asian boys. Look up Longos on Wikipedia and it will mention how they got protection, and I also heard Tiny Rascal laid the murder game down too, but I never heard about them dropping too many Suernos. But yeah, hope that answered everything. And Snoopy Thug 69 writes, nah, that is true. Asian gangs can hold their own, but the Cambos won the battle, but they not winning the war. And D-Man cosigns, which I'm assuming means he agrees. And in a new thread, E.S. Lowbottoms writes, in a thread he entitled, What Happened to the Four Trays? They Lost They Hood, LOL. And it goes like this. Four Trays used to be riders. Used to give me big problems back in the day. Always gunplay, but since they let the Hobbs get their guns and money, they like nobodies. I'm really disappointed at them because they are an original Crip set when they started subsetting from E/S Crips. This is impossible to read these. This is like, it's also boring. And still in the West Coast Hood Talk, DreDog678 started a thread entitled Crip Sets Who Beef with Crip Sets and Blood Sets. And it goes like this. Who beef with blood sets? What happens, say two Crip sets are beefing with each other in the streets, and then those members go to prison or jail? Do they get a beatdown from other Crips for beefing? Or do they continue this beef in the jails or prisons? Same for blood sets. And West Bronx Ryder writes, why don't you go outside and find out? And Adams Boy writes, hit prison, it drops because of race, but county, anything goes. And Deloksta writes, I'm pretty sure there's still some revenge going on, especially from dead homies and you in the pen with other blacks who did it. And that's all they wrote. So was this discussion? This is a fresh discussion. So if you go to this website, you can follow this discussion on your own after listening to the podcast. And not to diss the Down South Hood Talk, we'll move to the Down South Hood Talk subforum for a thread started by Frank Lucas. For a thread started by Frank Lucas entitled, Will Jerry Curls Ever Go Away in Memphis? And it goes like this. Tell me why I'm in the Circle K on Summer in Hollywood when this old-ass nigga walked in with a fat-ass nouveau looking extra motherfucking wet. Then this nigga had the nerve to think he was fly guy or some shit and tried to get at some young hoes on some I'm a pimp type shit. One bitch damn near choked laughing as she hit monkey ass. I mean, my God, man, it's 2011 and you still got a curl. And G Red writes, LOL, I didn't even be seeing niggas with curls in Memphis. Dat nigga must have just woke up from a 20-year coma or something. And Cash Rules writes, ha 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 ha. Niggas still rocking Jerry curls in 2011? I know my nigga 8-Ball had one back in the day, but this shit is unacceptable. Y'all niggas is stuck in the 80s for real. That shit should have went out in the 90s. And Tino writes, you know a lot of them old North Memphis GD niggas think they still got it. LOL. Not a diss, just saying. Sounds like a diss. Anyway. And Brainy Smurf writes, I be tripping off the guys out Chio with the extra tall high top fades, LOL. I be like Bart Simpson head ass nigga. And Grusla writes, nigga, I've been thinking for a long to rock the Jerry curls just for one day in a fur coat and gator shoes. Just walk up to everyone and start spraying my hair. And I think finally for this podcast, this is just depressing. And finally in this podcast, I'm going to go back to something stupid. And the next thread we'll read is by Blockboy QJ in a thread he entitled Bloods in the South. And it goes like this. I've been seeing how niggas keep saying why is the sets in the South so fucked up. It's because they trying to patch up the UBN problems. Understand the original UBN is an East Coast thing, not a South Side thing. So as the East Coast bloods have problem, so will the UBN sets in the South. The only way to fix it is all the real OGs from the South and the East Coast need to get together and fix it, or the South start their own blood chapter. And D-Man writes, true that. I really think it will be a mixture of the Nons and 5 riders under the Southern Blood Nation. That's how I see it, brah. You can't fix something that is already created and that is already too deep within, so it might as well be 50-50 nation. And Bixty4 Grams writes, that's why I'm happy my set not under the UBN anymore. We straight sex money murder boys / bloods, but we still show love to the UBN homies. But SMM fly Dolo as a blood hood. This is just nonsense. And Already writes, gotta admit, if the South had its own official lines, that shit would be ham. And it would force a change in the protocol and for things to be regulated. And Bixty4 Grams writes, yo, I'm from NY, and we did it, so why can't y'all do it? Feel me? 2 cents. I really don't give a fuck what Cali niggas say because we all bleed the same. I'll shoot any Cali OG that say I'm fake to my face. That's why they come to NY and embrace us, cause ain't no other choice. This our city, bitch. Luckily, I don't live down south. I would start my own blood set and give each soldier a strap. You can't be down without owning 2 straps, for real though. A gang full of guns and ammo, and loyalty money is gonna automatically come with that. Matter of fact, that would be my set's name, Southside G AA Guns and Ammo. Laughing emoticon. I'm high off perp right now. Y'all got sex money murder down here in Kentucky. And West Bronx writer adds, bloods in the South are all fake. Harsh words. Harsh words from the West Bronx writer. Well, certainly a giant pile of nonsense. But I'm glad that the internet was created so that these guys can talk about their gang affiliations and whatnot, and how to eat ice cream out of a girl's butt. And finally, for this podcast, we'll go back to the hoodup.com subforum Open Hood Talk to read a thread by Queef Morningwood entitled Chicago's Homosexual Gangster Disciples. And it goes like this. How many of you GDs on here had to bend over and give your ranking members some butt? Your lit says you have to. How many of you on here got put in that situation? And Uptown Yub Montana writes, nigga, you gay. And 7-4 Miami GD writes, nigga, by your username, you the gay one. And I bet you're some dumb white boy who think this game some kind of joke. Niggas really die for this shit and they hoods. And I don't fuck with them burgers, Latin kings, for your dumb ass. But I do know that what you got as your affiliation, a true Latin king, would have your fucking head with that shit, nigga. And don't be disrespecting us folks. I bet you wouldn't say that shit in our faces because we would eat your food, nigga. And 7 Crazy 4 writes, 7 GD vows number 3. I solemnly swear to never engage in homosexual acts, so you wrong. I would watch what you say cause this shit real. Folks will have your head for some shit like that. A warning to the wise. Do not be implying the homosexuality of gangsters. I think that's a pretty general rule. To avoid angering gangsters or gangs in general. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Lou Reads. I don't know if you'll be able to tell how difficult it was for me to read some of these posts out loud because this site has probably been, and I'm sure purposely, difficult to read because so many of the sentences, have weird sentence structure or replaced words or all kinds of weird slang. I never joined a gang. Like I can admit it. I did live in Wisconsin. Growing up in New York, I never really saw a lot of gang activity. And then when I moved to Wisconsin, I was always like, what's all this crazy pitchfork graffiti all over the place? And it turned out to be gang graffiti. So, and then the whole Crips and Bloods thing kind of came in the late 80s, I guess, but it was never really a big deal when I grew up here in New York. And now apparently it is. Hooray! I did read a good book a while ago entitled 8-Ball Chicks, which is all about the girls of gangs and gangs of girls. And It was just interviews with lots of them and their stories, and the one about the gangster girl who was the queen pin of Milwaukee black gangs was very interesting. I'll put that in the on the blog post. You can check it out if you want. It was good. I thought so. Yeah, you can pick it up on Amazon for 79 cents. Enough gang talk. In the future, I will probably start some kind of gang. I have to sort of write out the rules and all that, the jumping in process, hierarchical structure of who's in charge, and try some sort of voting, I suppose, fundraising, farm, cookie, bake sales, things like that. Podcast news. No news is good news. New podcast is out. Everyone's enjoying it. Magnets are going out. Pictures are coming in. If you haven't seen pictures, the latest pictures that have been sent in, check them out at the Facebook page. There's a link right on the blog at loureads.com. I'll probably post some more photos on the blog soon anyway. If you hate Facebook, don't trust it. Why would you trust it? It's the worst. Except that everyone's there. Oh, I was going to say that originally I wasn't going to do the Gangs podcast. I was going to do one for this other forum about this subculture of young gay men who want to be fat. Sadly, bigguts.com is no longer a forum. It was taken down sometime in December and doesn't exist anymore. So I'm sorry, Big Guttians. I will not be reading your forum. I did find some posts in archive.org, but it's too much trouble. Not like the dick list. It was way more disjointed. Though I did manage to see a picture of an overweight 14-year-old's torso unexpectedly. And I was not pleased with that experience. But anyway, back to talking about the podcast. Hope everyone had a delightful 420 and delightful Passover and delightful Easter. They all happened on the same week. It was quite the trifecta of events. I want to say thanks to people who've been writing reviews on iTunes. We're almost up to, I think, 50 ratings and a bunch of reviews, which is great, considering that, this podcast each episode gets about 1,000 downloads in the first 2 weeks. 50 reviews, not so many reviews, but I appreciate it. So if you want to review it, please do. You can also get this podcast in a million places now. Podbean and all these, I don't know, there are a bunch of different places. Not Podbean. And again, I ask if you guys are Redditors or diggers or stumble uponers, to please feel free to submit these podcasts anywhere you feel free or you feel that you'd like to, or if you see that I have done so, or someone else has done so, upvote that item, because that is delightful for me. And I mentioned before, and I still have the donate button on the blog, so if you feel like you enjoy the podcast and you want to chip in a couple bucks for me to continue sitting here so I can afford more seltzer cartridges for my soda stream so that I can keep my pipes nice and loose, that would be greatly appreciated. If not, I understand. Times are tough. And I think that's going to be it. So I still have about 10 magnets left. So if you're listening and you want a magnet, let me know. I continue to send magnets to places like Australia and Oregon and Connecticut, and yeah, that's about it. No, but I've been sending out a bunch, and so let me know if you want a magnet. Who doesn't want a magnet? Actually, I just recently gave a magnet to someone who I'm pretty sure hates me now, so that was kind of a wasted magnet. But that's okay. That's how it goes. All right, we're going to end it here. So, in closing, don't join a gang. It's just a bad idea. Tell everyone you know about this podcast. That's a great idea. And my name's Lou. This has been Lou Reads the Internet for you. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.